For our Soul Connection segment, I have asked Greg Halliday, the founder and president of Solle Naturals, to share with us more information about this nutritional powerhouse of AvantGreens and the transformational power it has in addition in our daily routine nutritionally.
Thank you, Erica. Another amazing, wonderful class. And I think you had the perfect choice to feature AvantGreens, because I think if I look at the line of Soul products, and you know, our philosophy is to provide a wide array of nutrients and wrap them around, in our opinion, nature's most complete plants, which are adaptogens, most balanced and complete. But if you compared all the Soul products, AvantGreens actually would be the absolute widest array and the most deep in terms of quantity, the amount of the nutrients. And the reason big for that is because it's loaded, and it's true when you think about hormones and how they relate to metabolism, but just hormones and the whole topic, which you really taught well, people don't think of, I'm going to fix my hormones with a super greens. I'm going to eat super greens, because AvantGreens is kind of like that. The name Avant is because greens are thought of in a certain way, and we want them to be thought of in a different way. We want them to be thought of a blend of greens like we're providing here, preserved in powder, because you can get a much greater quantity. And in fact, we sort of argue that that's what's needed. I was trying to pick a different word than argue, teach, believe that we just have to really increase the quantities of good right now, really, because of levels of stress, because of chemicals that we're amazing at producing as society, pollutants that we don't want to talk about. Nobody wants to. No organization that has any kind of responsibility around the air we breathe, the water we drink, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, really wants to talk about it. And so honestly, we can live on the positive side, to your point, by really making change in what we bring in. And AvantGreens, it was designed for someone who was part of Soul. She actually, when Soul founded 10 years ago, was given a week to live, right when we founded, and lived a number of years after that. I won't get into what she had in a very rare form of what she had, but essentially this formula was the difference maker to give her. Now, she used other Soul products for many, many years. And so when we launched this, not only was there a pretty involved study that Dr. Allison headed up with a lot of participants, and one of the big results that took her, she's a clinical psychologist and also an herbalist. It took her by surprise the extent that hormone and hormone-related imbalances in stress were positively affected. In other words, it was much greater than we even anticipated, both from a normalizing point of view and also a cleansing. Because some of the points you made, we've got to bring the nutrition in, but if we don't keep the processes unimpeded, then we get some less result about everything we do, and oftentimes we get frustrated and we give up. I mean, that's just natural, human nature. And so AvantGreens, when we launched it, we actually had 3 separate master classes like this that Dr. Allison taught. The first one was all about this wide array of nutrition and how deep the nutrition goes in this formula. The second one is what she called Trash Patrol. And that's where she got into liver and this whole relation of dealing with hormones and that whole completing the cycle in the body's use of them, among other things. And how she talked about liver, bile, gallbladder, fiber, and elimination, and how that gets in the way in almost every case, and how it's hugely underdiagnosed. And so why I bring that up is a number of the ingredients are liver changers, either cleansing, either supporting, protecting, a lot stimulating bile production. lots in there that goes right straight to the liver. And so the middle, but also skin, kidneys, lymph, major ingredients in AvantGreens that go directly to the rest of these processes. Like, I mean, I didn't know till I listened to her class that aside from dealing with the toxins through the lymph, then fats are a crucial part of that. And once they're dealt with, these toxins, that is, in the lymph, then the fats are delivered to like brain, eyes, and other essential needs that we have. And so lymph shuts down and tons of things shut down. Like, you know, to your point, the whole symphony, it doesn't sound as pretty. So AvantGreens, actually, there's a whole series of why it helps with lymph. So this product is built around a wider and a deeper array of nutrients than I think you'll find anywhere. If you really get in and look at it, it's a little, we're accused a little bit of it's a little overboard. And I will tell you, because I know some people, there are a lot of people who start with less than the dose and work into it, because less is more with this. And then you can kind of see how it's going, but then it is safe to ramp up to your need, but getting into it, you know, is something different. And then, so after all that nutrition, and then all of the concentration on what Dr. Allison calls trash patrol, clearing out, priming, cleaning, reconnecting the messages of the symphony, that in itself changes hormone behavior, or at least our experience with the interplay of hormones, starting with the metabolism and reaching out into kind of everything. But then there's the third masterclass was purely on glands. And she spent, and her words were this. The third class was all about that hormone symphony, focused around adrenals and thyroid. But her statement was the primary purpose of this formula in her mind, AvantGreens, was that. In her mind, its primary purpose was about hormones as they relate to metabolism, stress, and sort of those core needs we have. And so we actually, and there's a big highlight on 3 different adaptogens, licorice, which most people do not view as an adaptogen, and it's in a high percentage of all traditional Chinese formulas you will ever see. I want to say 75% of them, but I'm just throwing a number out, okay? Something so high, you're like, really? You put it in everything, okay? And she talked about what it does to maintain cell permeability. So she was focusing on this part of it when she mentioned, and how important that is so messages can be received and sent. But licorice and American ginseng and holy basil, 3 adaptogens. And I was thinking about them, as you were talking, Erica, about, I would add a 4th category to the way we originally launched this, and I would add is how you manage stress. And you gave 2 different ways to deeply manage it, because to me, it has such an immediate impact on on that whole hormone health and symphony and everything, that it's stress. It can so quickly be problematic to us. And it also, most people don't believe, it can really quickly be put in a better course too. It's not that it's solved immediately, but it can be changed for good a notch almost immediately, is my belief. So AvantGreens, there's a lot in there that is direct aid, what we would call direct aid to some of the biggest players in hormone production and delivery and completing that cycle, everything the liver has to do to complete that cycle and make sure we don't have problems and storage and elevated amounts that remain. So I know I've kind of bounced around a little, but I hope what I've done tonight is at least shared, maybe sparked a little interest in getting in and looking at AvantGreens. Take a look at what's in there, Google, or look at resources that you generally look at. You're going to be amazed how deep it is. I'll throw one other tidbit in, it's greens. but it's impactful. Most people do not guess. So here's a little quiz for you. What do you think is the most broad nutrient in the whole formula? There's a bunch of sprouts. There's hemp. You know how nutritious hemp is. There is hemp seed in there in a really good amount. And there's a big list of things that you would look at and go, I know that. That's a famous super nutritious. Most people do not guess, well, watercress. It's actually got a really good amount of watercress out, and people are like, what? Yeah, there was a super interesting report published somewhere back east where they picked like 10 of what people would say the most nutritious greens that you can find. And they measured all the different nutrients in them and the amounts. Watercress actually beat all of them, and it wasn't close. So including spinach and all that. So AvantGreens, and that's one of what? How many ingredients are in it? Like 25? I don't even remember. I've got to go look. I'd have to go count them. That's one. So it's super loaded. There's a lot it's going to do. So yeah, it's kind of crunchy. Like there are sprouts and sprouted seeds. So you get the sprout and the seed because for a reason. And so, yeah, you got to let it, like, I don't know about you, Erica, do you mix it in with another shake, or do you just let it sit? Just let it sit a minute in the water and soften up.
I let it sit, and I like to reference it like I let the nutrition bloom up a little bit, and I do it that way. But I love the taste. Like, I think it tastes amazing. I don't think it tastes green at all.
No.
I think it's quite delicious, and I drink it by itself. I don't mix it with anything.
So do I. I do not mix that one. I put it in stuff because people say you ought to try it in this or that, but I actually like it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for this information tonight. And I completely agree. I mean, I was looking at all of the different, products that we could feature tonight with hormones, and you guys, there's an entire category of the clarifying category that, of course, all have very targeted, for endocrine and glandular, systems and whatnot. But this one really got me because I was like, wait, this one hits every single target category. When we talk about metabolism and hormones and how they relate together, this is one that hits every single priority that we look at therapeutically in order to optimize healing in the body. So I appreciate your information as well. And I know that probably many of you are like, wait, how do I get those master classes? And if you are thinking that, talk to your mentor, because they might be available in the Facebook group, because they're good. You probably want to learn all the things as well.